Hey, welcome to the Speakeasy. I'm your barista, Jeff Belanger, because today we're taking tea with one of my favorite comics, which is kind of cool. So, being under quarantine, I've had more time than usual to think. I think about my life, I think about my work and the mechanics of my work, all that stuff. And a big part of my job is performing. I get to tell stories in front of audiences, I give lectures, I share my research. And there's something magical that happens between a performer and an audience. It's different every single time. And I don't think anyone feels that more than a comic. And we're going to get into all that, which is really cool. Now, one of the tools of performing for anyone, right, is swearing or curse words. And you know them all by heart. And you're likely to hear some of them in this next hour. So I'm guessing if you've got kids around or whatever, maybe headphones or keep the kids out, whatever, it's up to you. You know what to do. But it turns out swearing is a really wildly fascinating topic. The history of it, like who's doing it well, who's not doing it well. Anyway, I couldn't think of anyone better to talk about this with than a buddy of mine, live from Minneapolis, comedian Mike Brody. And there he is.
Hi.
Mike, did you know you're the one who taught me that the very last thing you say before introducing a performer is the performer's name? You don't ever say like, hey, so Mike Brody, he's from Minneapolis and he's been my buddy and we've been chatting for, anyway, here he is, right? You say Mike Brody last.
I'm glad you remembered that because a lot of people don't. That is the worst. They go, all right, your next comic is Mike Brody. He loves ham and talking to dogs. Like it is so boring when they bring you up there. So yeah, you have to be like, you have to pretend that I'm the most exciting person ever. And Mike Brody.
Mike Brody. And they're like, no, not Mike Brody, dude. And there it is. So anyway, I'm glad to see you. Under these conditions, it's a little weird, but I'm glad to see you anyway. So what are you drinking? Man.
I am drinking a giant mug of dandelion root tea.
Wow.
Because I quit drinking caffeine. And this is a coffee substitute. And let me tell you, it does not substitute for coffee. It does not.
So I don't drink coffee. I never have. I don't like it. But I drink tea. And today I'm having Constant Comment.
Is that herbal or?
No, it's black tea.
Okay, so you do caffeine.
Caffeine. I do caffeine. Yeah, and it's a lot weaker than coffee. But Constant Comment. I know you're a Leonard Cohen fan.
Yeah. That's like Leonard Cohen tea.
No, Suzanne takes you down, right? She feeds you tea and oranges that come all the way from China. Yeah. That Bigelow Tea had just come out with tea and orange tea, and that is a reference to that tea. Anyway,
that's a great song.
And we're back. It is a great song. So how are you holding up? I mean, okay, so let me just set this up. Let me backtrack just for a second. A comedian, like we're not going to do stand-up comedy today. It can't be done through Skype, right? It can't be done like in a webcam. You need bodies.
People are trying. They're trying, but it's weird. It's weird. There's like open mics. Like, I mean, you thought open mics were rough before. I tried on Zoom. And literally, you see some people, you're like, "Oh my god, that's where they live." Like they just look sad. Yeah. It is. It's interesting. It is interesting. But yeah, no. This you do need it. I do miss audiences. I've been watching the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and it's been making me jealous.
Yeah, it's a great show. Yeah,
it is a great show, but it's like, audiences.
I know, I dude. So, and you make a living at this. This isn't just like a side hustle for you. Like this is your job. You've been doing it full time for years. And the first time I met Mike, for those of you who don't know, we were at a paranormal conference, and it was at the it was Mount Washington Hotel, right?
Mm-hmm.
In New Hampshire, and it was great. So Mike said, "Hey, would you go up and like open for me?" And we had been chatting all day and stuff. And now by open, he just means just work the audience for like 2-3 minutes. And then you introduce, and the last thing you say, couldn't stress this enough. The last thing you say is Mike Brody. I'm like, I got it. And I went up there, and I had already given a talk that day. And I use a lot of humor in my presentations and stuff. But when my humor isn't working, I just fall back on the content. It's okay. People didn't come there for jokes. They came there for ghost stories. So anyway, I go up there, and this audience was so hot. I mean, like, and by hot, I mean, like, I could have farted into the microphone, and they would have been like, yes, right? Brody went up and killed him. He did like 45 minutes, like slayed him. People were rolling. They talked about you for days. You were just awesome. The following year, we're back at the same place, but a totally different crowd. And we're not on the big stage now. We're down in the dive bar below ground.
Oh yeah.
Sorry to do this, but this is real. We're gonna be real right now. And Brody's like, dude, can you go up again? And just same thing like last year. I'm like, oh hell yeah, I got this, man. This is gonna be a blast. And I'm like, how's everybody doing? Chirp, chirp. Hey, look, we got ghost hunters here. We got this and that. This is gonna be a great weekend. Is everybody having a good time?
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, I'm so very cold, right? And I'm just like, Mike Brody, ladies and gentlemen. And I just lean into you and I'm like, dude, good luck. And that was the show that Jay and Grant came to watch. They were sitting, I'm like, great, this is the show. Great, awesome. Yeah. And
that's the thing, man. Yeah, it's up and down.
And it didn't go as well. And I remember when it was done, I walked up to you and I said, man, that wasn't you, that was them. Because I've had nights like that. I mean, I tell stories in front of audiences, and there's, especially in October, I'm doing this every night, and you go out there and like one night they're just in the palm of your hand and it's freaking magic. And you're like, this is great. I love this. And the next night I got the same show, like 100 miles away. And I'm like, I'm go up there, like, like cock of the walk, ready to go. And you do it. And it's just dead.
I think specifically for that show, the first year we did it, the crowd was all pumped and ready to go, and it was fish in a barrel. The second one, you're down in the basement. A lot of people didn't know about it. There was probably 20 or 30 people down there as opposed to 200 or 300. That crowd was good for them. For the whole week, they were just kind of mild-mannered people. The second week, it was back up in the regular place, and everybody was wild and crazy again. It was right back where it was. But yeah, so you almost have to not take it personally and just go, okay, like there's a curve. Like, how you get graded on a curve? There's kind of a curve. With the audience, were like, the ceiling is this high. Normally it's this high, but the ceiling is this high, and it's a victory if you get it here. Yeah, which would be a failure normally.
No,
I mean, but there's a difference between blaming the audience and being realistic.
Yeah, no, of course, and sometimes, like, as a performer, you're like, no, man, that might have been me. Maybe I didn't have the energy tonight. Maybe I didn't like dig in deep enough. I mean, you're pro. It doesn't happen a lot, but it happens. Right.
And that was like 10 years ago. I've been doing comedy 20 years. I would probably handle that situation differently now than I did then. I would probably go in and talk to the crowd a little bit more, try to individually like shake a few people loose and then go from there. Maybe
even take questions.
Yeah.
But before we get too far, I want to show Mike in action, because I said, no, we're not doing stand-up this way. This doesn't work. We're going to have a chat, but I can show you Mike doing stand-up. We got a video to share. Ready? We're going to watch a little bit of this from your special. This is from your Dry Bar Comedy special, right?
Mm-hmm.
And take a look. Mike, you can watch with us. Ready?
Yeah.
Do this. Here we go. So we're going to do this and this.
Ooh. I love being married. I've been married for a while. I love it. It's my favorite thing in the world. For real.
It's nice.
I think it's the best. I've been booed for saying that. I know. I was on stage. A guy booed me, and he wasn't kidding. There was hatred in his eyes. I go, I love being married. And he goes, spit flying out of his mouth. And then I found out he was divorced, and I was like, oh, do you think maybe your attitude had something to do with it, Mr. Sparkle? Like, I get it. Like, marriage is hard, and if you're divorced, like, I'm not judging you, but that guy shouldn't boo me because I like something. Some people like coffee. I don't walk into a Starbucks and slap the coffee out of dude's hands. Like, I had a coffee once. You raised your hand. Did you have a question? Why not? If his wife was next to him? No, I didn't. Usually when somebody boos me, I'm not like, let's get to know each other further. Sometimes talking to people in the audience can backfire. I was doing a show once, and this dude, the tables were this way, and he was just staring at the wall the whole time. He's just staring at me. He's staring, and I was like, dude, you're gonna look at me the whole show? You're not gonna look at me? And he goes, I'm blind. I'm like,
True story.
I was like, okay, carry on. And then he turned and he faced me. I was like, dude, don't patronize me, man. Just go back. You're fine. You don't have to pretend. So no, I didn't ask him. I do love marriage. You learn a lot about people when you're married, you know? My wife used to have this really big phobia. She was deathly afraid of butterflies. Like butterflies. She was just terrified of them. Like to the point where if it was a beautiful spring day and we're walking down through a park and she saw a butterfly, she would just bolt. Like it was a dirty rat waving a syringe, you know? Like. But then one day, one of her friends goes, did you know that butterflies are the souls of our dearly departed loved ones who've just come back to say hello? And that worked. Like, what? Like, it is ridiculous. She's not afraid of butterflies. Like, that actually makes me kind of mad, you know? How big of a phobia can it be if you cure it in 30 seconds with a Hallmark card, you know? By the way, that advice does not work for everyone. I was having lunch with a friend outside in the summertime, and a bee started buzzing around. And he was like, oh, I'm terrified of bees. And I was like, did you know? Bees are the souls of our dearly departed loved ones who've just come back to say hello. And then it stung him. I was like, oh, I don't think your grandma really liked you.
And then they cut off a part, and then it goes, and then a bunch of bees came by, and I was like, dude, your family sucks.
Damn it.
Yeah. Man, that made me realize I went tanning the week before to try to look a little tan. I'm a little more tan than I am right now. And also, I've lost 10 pounds since that video, so that jean jacket fits a lot better.
Well, good, because that was my next two questions. I don't even have to ask them now. Something else. No, that was great. And it's fun to see you. You're so comfortable in front of an audience. And I know a lot of that is experience, right? Like your first time out, you don't have that command. I mean, that takes practice, right?
I'm more comfortable on stage than I am in regular life.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Does pre-show Brody still exist? And I'll explain what that is in a minute.
It depends. It depends on if I'm uncomfortable. Like when I was filming that special, yes. Holy cow. Yes. I was insane before that show. I was pacing around. The MC went up before me and did a Nazi joke. And I was like, really? A Nazi? Like Jews and Nazis? Like, that's really? Because we were in Utah for a bunch of Mormons. I was like, what is this? And you have to be totally clean for that show. That show, you have to be Disney clean. Yeah. And so, I was freaking out.
I've seen you a couple times now, and we've got to hang out before. And then I realize now, like, if I go see you again, I wouldn't even hang out with you before. I just wait till after. I'd be like, hey, it's cool. Because you're just a bitch. Like you are. Yeah. And I get it.
Zan, my wife she knows to stay away from me because it's not even nobody's scared of me. They're just annoyed by me because I'm just And the funny thing is, like, so when I'm doing ghost stories in front of like a larger audience, and I've got like a green room and everything, like which is awesome when you have like a real stage and everything. There's just some power to that. I'm back there. I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody. Not now. Right. After, I'll talk to you all night, but like not now. Like I'm trying to get into like focus here. And I don't like being seen before the show. And it's not like some Diana Ross, Chuck Berry, don't look them in the eye waiver thing. But like, I feel like maybe it's an insecurity. I feel like if they see me before the show, they're going to make a judgment about me before the show. And I like to go up there and grab that, instead of having it be at the whims of somebody. So I sell T-shirts when I'm on the road. I have this big bag because my small bag broke, so it's a huge suitcase. When I walk into the bar or the club or wherever, the theater, people always turn like, "Oh, look at that! Oh, you got a puppet there!" I'm like, "Don't look at me! Don't look at me!"
Not a diva.
No, because it's just like I don't want them. It's embarrassing.
I know. No, I get it. I really do get it. I get it. Like you want it. You want to like. I want you to be introduced to me at my best at the performance. Afterwards, like we can let our hair down if we have it. Right. And yeah.
By the way, this is Brooke. Am I looking at the camera right now?
Yes, it's up.
Okay,
here.
That's what I thought. Because I keep it's like this thing where you look down and I keep looking at you, and there's a little fourth wall thing right there.
Yeah, that's fine. We can break the fifth wall.
What is the fifth wall?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's in another dimension.
Sounds like an Aldous Huxley reference there.
It totally is. Something I noticed, and let's jump on topic now. In that little bit we just watched from Dry Bar Comedy, not a swear to be found.
Right. Yeah. Not only that, it's like I've done clean shows. I do clubs, I do bar gigs, I do cruises, I do almost everything you could think of. But there's never been a clean, because it'll be like, oh, be clean. And then you go to the gig and it's, it's a company. You go, I always go, don't worry, I'll do whatever you guys want. But as far as language goes, but what are you looking for? You're looking for PG-13, G, Disney, R, and they go, oh, just, you could say shit, but don't say the F word, or like that. And it's always like, this was like, you can't talk about, like, you can't say, oh my God.
Oh my.
That's like the worst thing you could say, because it's in Utah. It's not technically like anybody can go. That room could be filled with Muslims, but it's Utah, so it's mostly Mormons, and that is like one of the worst things you can say for Mormons is, oh my God. And so it's not something I really say a lot, because I don't know. It seems like kind of like a 14-year-old girl thing, like, oh my God, it doesn't come up a lot. But they kept saying, don't say, oh my God, and it got into my head. And then they're putting my makeup on, and the makeup lady was like, she's like, oh, somebody last week said the G word. And I was like, what's the G word? And she goes, G-O-D. And I'm like, oh. And so you filmed 2 shows, and they basically picked the best one and put it up, just in case you poop your pants in the middle of one or something. And the second joke of the first one, I did something, I went, oh my God. And then but I caught myself, so I was like, oh my God.
Cut that out.
Yeah. And then in my head, I was like, I just ruined it. I ruined my special. It's ruined. But it actually kind of like snapped me out, where I was like, okay, all hands on deck. And I had a really, really good set after that. But it freaked me out, because you hear these stories about people like derailing their set. Like it would be worse to say, like, I skull fucked your grandma.
You know what's funny about this? Okay, so taking the Lord's name in vain is a commandment.
Yeah.
Don't do it. So, oh my God could be interpreted as taking the Lord's name in vain.
I'm sure that's what they think.
Saying shit is nowhere in the commandments.
No.
Not a once. So so that's the funny thing to me. Now, okay,
it's a matter of opinion, basically, because what's the difference between shit and poop?
I can answer that. Oh. So I've been looking into this, because I was like, when we were talking about getting together to do this, I said, I really want to talk about swearing, because these words are just like, they're magical, right? So we call them curse words, because there was a time when someone would say, like, I curse you, right? And you'd be like, whoa, you'd be stopped, because you're like, am I really? Like, did you really go through some trouble to do that? Or whatever. And so then we had these words. Now, shit is a fascinating one, because it's one of the oldest. And it's always meant like a derogatory term for pooping. It's Old English with Germanic roots, and it goes back, literally like 5-6 centuries. And it was a very informal, like, you wouldn't use it in polite company word, but you knew what you meant, right?
Right.
And over time, it got to be one of these words you just shouldn't say. And now we use it so much. It's a adjective and noun. It's everything. Mm-hmm. It's a magical word, and we tell our kids not to say it. I'm a dad, and I know my daughter's 13. I'm not stupid. I know, like, she uses these words, but I said, not in front of me, right, out of respect. And I use the hell out of them when you're not around, right? So what is it about, like, so especially as a comic, it's a tool in the toolbox, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I don't really have any, I'm just gonna be totally honest, I don't really have a moral standpoint about swear words. If I was at a nursing home, I wouldn't say it, because I don't want to offend people. I would try not to offend a bunch of 80-year-olds or something. I want to be nice. But as far as me, I don't get offended by swear words or not. I think that the thing that it's not offensive to me, but when I see a comic overuse it, I think it's lazy.
Yeah.
Like, it's like saying, like, there's people that I went to the fucking store to get some fucking cheese, and I fucking fell on the ground, and you're like, okay, you're just stalling. Like, you're lazy, but a well-placed one, I don't have any issues with. I think could be a good punch. However, when you write a joke that has, like, the F word in it, it's really hard to get out, because it's that power to it and that cadence and stuff. So sometimes you'll end up having to do a show where they want you to be clean, and then you have to say frickin', or like, lollygagging, and it just never feels the same. So, like, the goal, I think, usually is to, like, write it clean, and then you can dirty it up later if you need to, but try to get the outline clean, because otherwise it's a hassle.
When someone talks, when you're talking with someone and they overuse swear words, you make assumptions about them, like they're less intelligent, right? They may not be, but like you said, it's lazy.
I've literally done a show. It's happened to me, and I've seen it happen to a headliner who he said the F word every other word. Like, I think he was just drunk, and he talked so fast, but his jokes weren't dirty. So he's like, saying the F word, but he's talking about yogurt, Right. And this lady came up to him after the show, and she goes, "Thank you so much for not swearing." And he goes, "Are you fucking serious?" Like, right. But he wasn't talking about the verb. He was talking about, I don't know. I'm a journalism English major. I should know this, but he whatever I went to the fucking store. It didn't register with people. So I don't know. It depends on the person. But yeah,
right. You weren't using it as a noun or a verb. You were just using it as like a descript, like a pregnant pause word or whatever. And no. So what I've noticed now, again, it's not comedy what I do. I tell stories. However, sometimes I get introduced and, like I'm an author of books and I've done this and that. And so sometimes I've been in places that maybe are a little more like out of the way. And someone's like, "Oh, who do you think you are?" Right. Mm-hmm. And there's this whole, like, I'm up here and they're down here thing. And I get the folded arms right in the beginning,
Yeah.
And I found if I go up there and I just start to tell a story and I'm feeling a little bit of adversity, a well-placed, like, "Look, I know this shit sounds crazy sometimes, but man, it's great." This stuff sometimes happens, and this is what people are talking about. Like, the whole room can change in one word, and like suddenly we're equal again. Oh, he swears like we do. Like,
if you said that every 7 words or every, that wouldn't have worked. They wouldn't even register. Yeah.
Yeah, it would never. And if you do it too much, that's all they remember. Like, boy, that guy swore a lot. But like a 1 or 2, like it's like a crouton in a salad, right? You don't want too many.
No. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and it's interesting that some people get more offended than others. Some people are like, "Hey, swear and be dirty," and some people, they don't mind shit, but they hate the F word. It's different for everybody. You just kind of have to read the audience. And the goal is to not be hampered by it, not to be reliant on it, because then you fall into that trap. Because I don't think there's people that go dirty comedy is easier than clean comedy or vice versa, or they get in this whole thing. And honestly, I think funny is funny, but you just don't want to get pigeonholed. Like, my goal is to be able to, I can go, if you want me to do some blues show, piece of cake. But also, if I have to do,
did you almost say piece of shit right there?
I did. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Piece of shit. Cake.
The worst is when, I do a lot of different shows. I've been doing cruises lately, which I have been quarantined, and it's been 30 days and fine.
Okay, good.
They have clean shows and dirty shows. You literally, you'll do 3 in a night, and the first 2 are like, there could be kids there, and the late one is the dirty show. And the only time I don't like it is if somebody heckles you. It's way more fun to swear at them than it is to, "Hey, buddy." You can still do it, but it doesn't feel you feel a little bit like you got one arm tied behind your back.
Yeah.
But if somebody heckles you at the dirty show, it's on.
There's something physiological that happens in our brains when we use a taboo word. Like this is like, so if you stub your toe in the morning and you say "golly," right? Like it's not the same as if you just drop all the bombs.
Well, think about it. And I don't, like, if you stub your toe and somebody takes the Lord's name in vain, they're only saying that because they told you not to.
Right.
It's the whole, like, "Oh, I'm being bad." Like, if there was never a thing about saying Jesus Christ, nobody would say that after you stubbed your toe. That didn't make any sense. It's like it's a rebellion. It's I'm being bad. I don't know what it is, but yeah. And then I find it fascinating because what is a word? It's just something somebody decided, and there's things in our language now that we can't say anymore. The word itself wasn't bad, but then it became associated with, bad things, like I don't know, say like I'm saying this nice, but like, you like if somebody was like they used to say mentally retarded, and now that's not nice, and you don't say that anymore. But it didn't really mean anything bad before. It's interesting how it shifts. Things get associated with things.
Right.
By the way, I'm not campaigning that I should be able to say that word. I mean that, you know what I mean.
No, I get it. Yeah, and tastes change, right? What was okay to say all these years ago is not necessarily okay to say today, and that's just how it goes. You've been to Jamaica, right? You've vacationed down there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What's a red light word in Jamaica that if they call you, it's on, which is totally nothing in here. You don't know. I'll help you.
I do know, but they say body boy.
No, blood clot.
Blood clot. Yeah.
So like if I called you a blood clot in Minneapolis, I mean, you'd be like, huh? Right?
It'd be kind of sweet. You'd be like, Jamaican guy just called me a blood clot. Yeah.
No, but if I'm a white guy calling another white guy a blood clot,
Yeah.
and you've never been to Jamaica, you'd be like, what? You know,
Right.
and you keep walking. If we were in like, Jamaica, and you said that to someone, it's on, right?
Yeah. Because it's something to do with tampons.
Right. So yeah, then now you know.
It's weird. It's a weird insult.
I had a friend from Scandinavia who told me, and I don't know it in the Scandinavian language, but she said, if you said go into the woods, like that's the showstopper. And in that culture, that's the thing you would just never ever say. And go into the woods here means nothing. So,
and that's the thing. That's kind of my stance on swearing. Is like if it's offensive to somebody, I don't want to like. My goal is not to offend people, and I'm not saying it as like a wuss or anything. But like I don't, if one group of people say we don't like being called this because it gypsy, is now kind of considered. You're supposed to say Roma. I believe it might not be totally correct, but like it's and you go, well, we said gypsy for years. They're like, we have to go. Well, they don't like that, so I should be nice and just say something else.
So if you're a performer and so great performance and comedians do this so well, especially the good ones, right? You can't be like at the 9 out of 10 laugh meter for the whole time. It doesn't work. You got to move through emotions. Same with comedy, movies, anything, right?
I'm 10 out of 10 all day, every day.
It just never stops. It's always Brody. Like boom. You never. And so, but so the laughs work when you take it down, when you move through the emotional waves. If you say something that derails the audience, that doesn't help you.
No.
Right? Yeah. No. If you drop a bomb that like suddenly like people are, oh, well, you just wrecked the ride, man. You just took it off the rails, and everything you were hoping to accomplish is now unaccomplishable. I
always say it's just like that show. There's a ceiling, and you in your first 30 seconds, you decide how big the ceiling is going to be. Your first impressions, right? It's almost like a video game where like, you're like, oh, there's a ceiling because I got him. If you screw something up, if you fall in the first, or you say something stupid in the first 30 seconds, you're lowering the ceiling, and then that's as good as you're going to do.
Yeah,
at best. And that can derail that, and you can actually move the ceiling back down mid-show by saying something wrong. You say something, and I've heard of somebody being in like Milwaukee doing it like 20 years ago, doing a Dahmer joke, and then somebody in the audience, like their brother got killed by Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh my God.
And they yelled, they got my brother, and then he ran off, and like, well, that show's done.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But like, the odds, by the way, are like astronomically low that you would have a Dahmer victim's family member. Like, if you did the math on that, I'm just saying.
It was Milwaukee. That's where,
Oh, yeah, that was. Yeah. Maybe I would have avoided the Dahmer. Do that in Chicago or something,
Right.
Yeah. No, it's so, I've also thought the life of a comic has got to be one of the loneliest going. And I say that because I know you, and I know some of the stuff I've done. Like I've done. No, I'm not calling you lonely. No. We'll explain. So sometimes I'll do like college gigs where I will literally fly out at like 5 a.m, land somewhere, rent a car, check into a hotel, find some food, and not even good food, just edible. You do the gig like that night, you're on at 7 or whatever, and it's great and it's awesome, and you have an awesome time, and everybody's, this is great. Thanks so much for coming. Here's your check, which is great. And then they're like, see ya. And then you drive yourself back to the hotel, and you sit in your room and you watch TV, and you wake up at 6 a.m. and you take the flight home. Mm-hmm. And like, you're just so isolated, and you're driving all over the place alone sometimes, how do you find it? Like when you have all this solitude, like all day long, how do you find it to like get on stage and bring the energy?
I'm so used to it, because like in September it'll be 20 years. I feel like I'm a really good pro at like, leaving at 4 a.m, driving 15 hours, getting to the show an hour before, and then going up and doing an hour like on no sleep and 10 hours of driving or whatever, and then going up and having a great show. And then the minute you get done, it's like then you crumble and you fall like Howdy Doody without his things,
Yeah.
I've just practiced that, and I've gotten really good at it. As far as the solitude goes, comedy is just weird. There's so many things that go into being a good stand-up comedian that aren't just about being funny. There's having, the ability to, like if you're hamstrung by, I was 22 when I started. I didn't have a family, so to speak, to worry about, but you have to have a desperate need for attention and validation from other human beings, but also be an introvert enough that you can stand and actually like being alone for a long time. It's this weird thing of like solitude, validation. Okay, I'm alone now again.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that sometimes that's just because I'm sure there's been tons of really funny comics who just quit because they couldn't handle that side of it.
But that's the life of any performer, right? If you're a touring musician, like to write a song.
You have a band. I think comics are more solitude than a lot, not necessarily all, but if you're in a band, but I mean, I don't want to split my money 4 ways.
Fair enough. No, but so like, I just mean like the idea of writing music. So, I mean, I love watching music documentaries about like how people, compose songs and how some songs literally took like 6 years to write, just hours and hours alone in a room, working out chord progressions and lyrics and stuff like that. And then you perform it in front of an audience and it just looks so easy. Like you probably knocked that out this afternoon and we're all cheering and yay, and 3 chords, it's only 3 chords, whatever. And you don't realize like the hours of solitude that went into that as a writer, right? When I'm writing books, I don't know how to do it with another person. I see books that are written by 2 people or whatever. I'm like, I don't even, I don't get it.
I was just thinking of a Stephen King book that he wrote with Dinar Kuntz, and I was like, how do you do that? And you go, I went to the D&D store. Oh, good. Like,
right. I guess like my chapter is like a Mad Lib and you fill in the adjectives and nouns and then you do the same and we just pass them back and forth. I don't know. No, I have no idea because it's such a solitary thing, right? Like and it's writing a joke. Like, I mean, you can try it out on friends, be like, hey, I'm sure, do you workshop some of your jokes? Like just with friends or colleagues or your wife?
You remember Zan, of course?
Yeah, Zan, yeah.
We write jokes together.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's my they go back and forth. We have, it's like the Beatles. Sometimes like one person will write something and the other person will help with it, and then vice versa, It's like Lennon, McCartney, Lennon.
Yeah.
So she's I've been with Zan for married 10 years, and so she knows comedy forwards backwards. So I actually like her. I don't want to sound mean to other comics, but she's better than all the other comics as far as that stuff goes. Yeah, but most comics do that. Most comics like to get together and workshop stuff. And every comic has like a punchline that somebody else was like, hey man, here's what you should say. Like, but there's etiquette to it. You have to be like, if you're in a conversation, you're talking about something and somebody says something really funny, you're supposed to go like, hey, can I use that? Yeah. It's bad etiquette to just take it, not tell anybody, Right. And you definitely don't steal jokes. You don't, see somebody do it and then you're like, oh, I'm going to do it better. You don't do that.
Yeah, that's not the craft of it. The craft of it is you're coming up with your own stuff, right?
Right. And it should be, the people will have arguments about who wrote a joke, like, oh, that's my joke. He stole that joke. But if you look, whenever there's an argument about joke stealing, the joke is always generic as hell, right. Where it's like, so like if I write a joke about me and my social security number and me living at this address, it's something very specific about me. Nobody else is going to have anything just like, even if it's the same topic, it will not be the same. But like there was this video of Carlos Mencia and Joe Rogan going at it like 8 years ago or something like that. And the argument, they were arguing about who wrote, it must have been 5 years. It was about building a wall along Mexico. And then they're like, well, who's going to build it? Because, Mexican workers, and they're like, I wrote that, you wrote that. I'm like, fucking 65 old comics wrote that joke. I've seen that so many times,
Right.
That's usually what it is.
But that's the challenge of working in that field. So a friend of mine who's a sports writer, he's been a sports writer since college for decades. And I always said like, man, how do you write about a football game? Like a football game, there's going to be 2 teams and some's going to score and there's going to be some big plays and there's going to be some whoopsie fumbles and stuff. Like, hasn't it all been said about every football game ever? And he goes, sure. But like, that's my challenge is to write about this one and hit the parts that stuck out to me and the parts that I think you need to know about.
Yeah, it should be I think the trick of comedy is to have something that's relatable, but also uniquely you. Yeah. At the same time.
Well, that's a story. That's like any great, like you don't care at all about a story unless you could see yourself in it, unless like it rings to something in your life. I've talked about, like a legend sticks around because we're not done with it for some reason. It's a collective decision, right? It's not up to me. Words come in and out of vogue. We've used so many swear words, to bring it back to that, in so many different ways that they've lost a lot of their power. Like, I've seen people driving around the shopping plazas with flags for Trump that say "Stop the bullshit." Like that's the actual like campaign thing.
Right. And Republicans used to be way against, like, that would be conservative and they wouldn't say that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now it's entered. I mean, politicians never swore, never, not until, the last 4 or 5 years. And now, but they have to. And if you're gonna run, you're gonna have to swear.
Well, so I'm not one of those people that, like, I don't watch TV, but like I didn't watch, like, the date, like the primetime TV, just because I was usually on stage about that time. So I remember one time watching the news, and or I was watching like an 8 p.m. show, and they said shit, and I was like, when can you say shit on TV? Like, there's like there's a butt in there, like a literal, like.
Oh right, yeah.
When did that become okay?
It was Law and Order or something like. Yeah. No, yeah. Like suddenly they were just like, oh, we're gonna push that, and if you watch South Park and like all the rules were gone.
You could say pussy if you're calling somebody pussy, but you can't say it if you're talking about a body part.
Right.
So it's like, but that changed. You just couldn't say either of them before.
Right.
I don't know when that happened, and I guess that's just how it goes.
And I actually kind of admire people that can work within the constraints. Like you said, I mean, I'm super impressed that I can say to you, Mike, go PG tonight. You can, drop an S-bomb or whatever, but, keep it sort of friendly.
That would be, I disagree. I think PG, you can't say S. You can't say shit in PG.
PG-13?
PG-13, yeah.
Okay, fine.
PG-13 would be shit and then mild sexual content. Like maybe you say dry hump or something,
Right.
And then R is like, anything that would be in Hangover. And then X, when they say X, I'm like, I think that literally means having sex on stage. I don't think they know what that means.
Yeah, no, I don't think X. I mean, and the other part of it too is that how far can you push like profanity? I mean, there already has been an Andrew Dice Clay and an Eddie Murphy. Like the shock value is just, to me, it's like if you're eating spicy food, like I can make it so hot it's just gonna burn you. That's not challenging. But can I make it so hot but still have flavor?
I think there's trends and stuff. You remember how, like, I don't know, 7 years ago, girls' pants kept getting lower and lower and lower, and you're like, how far can it go? And then you realize, where does it go from there? The answer is right back up. Yeah, right back up to here. Right. It's cycles, It's
like a typewriter, right?
Yeah. So there go phases where people will get, ill. I've seen it in comedy. There was a shock value phase in like 2008, and then you're like, oh, it's just going to keep getting, and then it got more goofy, where it wasn't as, swearing and shock value. And it just changed. It's not necessarily linear. It goes in 20, in phases, because then some new group will never have, 10, 12 years ago, everybody swore all the time, but these new comics never have. So then they bring it back, and it just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah. Well, it's cyclical. And I think comedians, first of all, comedians have always been natural good storytellers, or you're just not going to make it in comedy. Like it seems to me like that's the foundation of the thing. But storytelling, I'm a huge fan of The Moth and like TEDx talks and stuff like that. Like storytelling is so compelling to me. And I know like some of the Netflix comedy specials I've been watching, these people are mainly storytelling, and it's amusing. Like their observations are amusing, but it's not like where you're just laughing and rolling. You're just sort of listening and learning.
No, it's not Dangerfield, where it's all 30-second clips,
Right.
Which I think they all have their place, I think, and I think in 4 years there'll be something else. It's always like that,
It's always changing. So someone, Karen here, who figures, well, she doesn't have to drink tea with us. She can drink wine because it is past noon. She must be East Coast or Latin.
Not where I'm at, Karen, you alcoholic. I'm just kidding.
So speaking of alcoholics, can we go there?
Yeah.
Oh, good. So I'm so impressed. This is no secret. You've made no secret of it. You were an alcoholic, right? Mm-hmm. That's the correct term.
Yeah.
Working in that environment where everybody's drinking, like it's not like, man, if you were a farmer, you don't have to go to the bar, right? You could just stay the hell out.
Right.
As a comic, you got to go. So first, can we just start with, at what point did you go into recovery?
It's a two-part thing, because I think 2000, I was 25. So was it 2000? Wait, what year is it? 2005. Sorry. Well, the reason I forgot is because I relapsed 8 years ago. So I've been sober for 8, but I haven't drank in 15 years. I relapsed on pills. It's the whole thing where I didn't think I was relapsing. I think I would have drank if I knew I was relapsing, but then it became one day it it was, I'm buying pills off the street and taking Vicodin. Like, oh yeah, that's a relapse.
Right.
So, but yeah, but the whole thing about not drinking in a comedy club is about 2005. It's like 5 years into my comedy career.
Now, how do you kind of reconcile with that? And how hard was it to, and first of all, I mean, come on, comedians are notorious like drug users and alcoholics. Like it's so first of all, those are your colleagues. And I'm sure some of them take pops to get up on stage or whatever. It
was hard at first. It wasn't even the social behind the scenes thing. It was hard because I had to drop a lot of my act. It took me like 6 months to recycle, to read, because a lot of my shit was like drinking, hey, who's drinking, you know? And like then somebody, I'd be like, okay, well, I'll just do that and I won't drink. And then people would send me up shots. And that made me nervous a lot. So that was mostly the thing about what do I do? Like, how do I do this? Am I still funny? Am I going to have a good time? But then once I got over that, it's fine, you know? And at first you would be like, I would be sitting with people and be like, yeah, I'm sorry I don't drink, but I'm still cool. Don't worry. You know, I can still have a good time. And then you get to a point where like, I don't give a fuck what people think. Like, I don't drink. And they're like, why? And I go, fucking none of your business, motherfucker. You know, like I don't need to apologize. I don't need to explain to people. I'm fine with if we have a nice discussion about it, but like I don't feel defensive about it or that I need to explain myself. So that's how it got easier when I'm just like, yeah, whatever. And now I don't think about it. And I don't mean that in a blasé way where I could relapse because I'm not paying attention to the tiger crouching in the doorway, as they say. But I just, you know, I don't have like a desire when I go in there. I just think about comedy. And I want people to drink. If there was no drinking, the bars wouldn't make as much money. The clubs wouldn't make as much money. There'd be less comedy clubs. And people need to get, you know, greased up a little bit. So I don't sit there and go, oh, these drunk people. I'm like, oh, good. This is keeping this going. Right.
So. I mean, we all do what we got to do to get by, and we got to cope. I have alcoholism in my family. My dad went through.
Are we related?
We might be. You know, dad went through 12-step programs and was able to, you know, this was decades ago. And so, so I get it. And I understand addiction. Like I understand, like, you know, it's like you said, it just kind of creeps up on you until one day you're like, oh my God, this is on my back.
And, you know, I've been sober for a long time, but it manifests itself in a bunch of ways. I have 2 T's, you know, the library's closed because of Corona, you know, and so I have been just downloading ebooks. I figured out I could download ebooks. So now I have to get every single Stephen King one and all this. And then you know, music, I have to categorize it. Like I get very like OCD, ADD, and it's all kind of the same beast, you know?
Yeah. No, and we do what we got to do. And but no, I just think it's awesome that you are so open to talking about it because I think people, if it's not alcohol, maybe they have some other addiction that they're kind of coping with. And the other part of it too, though, is your age. Like in your 40s, like if all goes well, you start to not give a shit what other people think, right? Right. In a very comfortable, good way, a healthy way, where you're just like, this is me. I've accepted it. This is how I roll. I don't drink coffee. I don't have to apologize to you for that. I'll have hot chocolate or tea.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, because I quit drinking when I was 27, and there was still, you know, hanging on to the past kind of thing where you still think you're young and stuff like that. But now, you know, like somebody will be like, "Oh, you should check out Bruno Mars." And I'm like, well, I'm not really into pop music. Like, oh, you need to give it a chance. Like, I'm 42. I know what I like. Fuck off. Yeah. You know? And then you think you're closed-minded, but you're like, I've had time to figure this out. But it's Bruno Mars.
No, and that's the hope, right? Is that you get to that point where you could just be comfortable with yourself and not need those crutches that maybe got us through our younger years, and not even realizing they were crutches at the time. And that's all part of it.
That's why I quit drinking coffee and caffeine, because I was actually on a cruise and I was already deciding I was going to wean off, but then I knew that there was going to be all this quarantine stuff, and I was like, I can't go through quarantine having a caffeine withdrawal with my wife. She does not deserve that. So I started doing it on the cruise. So now I've been all calm and collected in this time of trial, which is good. I miss it.
I've been trying to kick sugar.
Oh,
yeah.
I did that. We quit eating sugar for a year, and it was very hard because there's things. It's really hard. You have to read the labels and things that it doesn't just say sugar. There's things that mean sugar that are in Greek practically.
Yeah, right.
And with that first 2 weeks, it was like my eyeballs felt like they were gonna fall out. You didn't realize how addicted to sugar you are.
Everyone is. It's 100. It's everyone. It's addictive as cocaine. They say, like, I totally get it. And I'm not trying to quit. I just want to cut way back. Like I'm not gonna, you know, I want to just be, you know, a sipping kind of.
Well, here, my wife Zan is very health conscious, and she's a vegetarian. I'm not, but I'm kind of like, I don't mean to patronize people, but like I'm kind of accidentally a vegetarian because I don't usually have meat in here. Sometimes I do, but like I just kind of eat. So I've been eating healthy. The point is, I'm not trying to eat healthy, but I am out of necessity because that's what we have for groceries.
Yeah.
I want a piece of cake.
Dude, so what I found is if it's not in the house, I don't eat it, which I know sounds like ridiculously obvious, but so don't buy the cookies and the candy. And if I want it, like there's been times where I'm like, I need a cherry pie so bad that I was willing to get in the car and go to the store and get it.
Yeah.
Like, so no apology. I'm going to have the damn pie. Right.
But now, like yesterday was Easter. I saw a thing for Cadbury eggs, and I was like, "Oh, there's nice." I saw an ad for Cadbury eggs, and there's a gas station 2 blocks away, and we're on lockdown. But I was like, I can go. I just want to go get a Cadbury egg, and I would have, but then I'm like, then I'd have to like burn my clothes. I haven't laughed in a while. I have a mask. This looks like underwear. Yeah. but it was like I can't, so I didn't get a Cadbury egg. But last year I would have gone and got that Cadbury egg. It would have been nothing.
I totally get it. And so here's the thing too. So what is quarantine like for you in Minneapolis? Like are most people wearing masks now? Are they staying off the streets? What's it look like?
I don't know because I haven't really been outside in a few days. The only time I go outside is to walk the dogs, just because they need something. But there's a lot of people taking it really seriously. Our governor has been really good and really given a lot of like updates about what's going on and how things change and kept it fluid. So I think that everybody, because our numbers are really low as a state compared to a lot of other states, but there's all this uncertainty. So I don't know. I don't know what next week is going to be like. It's been crazy. It was weird being on a cruise because, doing comedy, and then it was a 2-week cruise. At the beginning, it was just like any other cruise. By about 4 days in, it was like, because it's been going on for a few months, but it started to get really real in March. Yeah. And at first, it was like, okay, it's getting weird, and then they started locking it down where like people couldn't hand you your food. They had to hand you your food. You couldn't get your own food in the buffet. And then by the end, I was like, oh shit, am I gonna get off this ship? Yeah. Like I thought I was gonna be one of those ships that's just cruising around forever with like a ghost ship, never being able to get dropped off, but. We made it through, and as far as I can tell, nobody on the ship had coronavirus, so that's good. But it's just weird.
How does that industry recover from this? Like, because it's not. This is so different than like you're in Minnesota. I'm in Massachusetts. We know snowstorms, right? Like, everybody stay in. There's gonna be a big pile of snow, and then it's over, right? And I'll go outside. This is so different, and I asked that of you as a guy that makes part of his living on cruise ships, but also. I mean, at what point are the comedy clubs going to fill up again? Are people going to feel safe to go in? I mean, what's your future look like?
There's been so many people. It's hard because I'm not trying to be pessimist. I'm trying to be a realist because I don't want to be like, we'll be back in May. And then when May comes, I'm devastated. Yeah. So I imagine I can't see how there could possibly be comedy before there's a vaccine that's been passed around. I can't. I don't understand. If people are dying, how could it be like, we need dick jokes. People need to die so you can hear this dick joke. Right. We were the first cut. I think we'll be the last back. And that's not me being, I hope that tomorrow there's some miracle thing that they passed, that it doesn't get regulated. They just throw it out there. We're all saved. And, I would love that, but I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see a lot of sports. I don't think football's going to happen. I just don't see how they can, for me personally, it's better to just accept realism than be pleasantly surprised than to be devastated by it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But comedy, all I know is when it does, I think it'll be a year and a half before our comedy's back. But I think once it does, it's gonna be a boom. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the smaller clubs will be gone. But hopefully,
how do you make it a year and a half, man? Like, how are you? So
me?
You personally.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
I don't know either. And the worst part is, so I've been thinking about this, right? So we're in dark times. People are in dark places, and they're upset and they're sad. And on the upside, like they're binging your comedy specials, which people can watch online. Let's plug that again. Go to drybarcomedy.com/mbrody.
Can I say something real quick about that? If you go to that, even if you download the app, it's free and it's not spammy. I get money if you download that. You don't even have to watch. You can watch you don't even have to watch my special. You should, but if you do that, I get money. You want to help a comic who is unemployed?
Yeah. And you get to watch his whole special right there.
Yeah.
So and I mean, I'm so fascinated with social media right now. I didn't really watch it all that much. I mean, I'd post stuff or whatever, but I wasn't like watching it. And I have been since all this went down. Because I think if you look at it from like a high level, it's really showing you the mood of your friends, of the world. There's people that are always so positive, like, hey, we're going to get through this. It's going to be okay. Oh my God, the meme game and the humor game has been off the charts. Yeah. People are bored and getting really innovative. And I love that. But these are dark times. And the irony is that the people that we need to lead us out of the dark time are comedians, performers, storytellers, musicians, people that need an audience, that can get a whole bunch of people in one room and have them leave at the end of the night feeling great. Yeah. Like when you see a good band or you see a good comic or you see a good play or performance.
Well, I think that something is going to happen. People are experiencing, because especially as comedians, we're on like a hold pattern right now. And, any performer, we don't know, is it summer? Is it 2021? So I think a lot of people have just been waiting. A lot of people are trying to get unemployment. A lot of people are trying to do this and that. I think once it becomes more like this is regular life, there's going to be somebody, and we can't think of it now because otherwise it would be everywhere. There's going to be somebody who thinks of something that maybe isn't the same as being in person, but they come up with something and suddenly that's the rage and that's the best we can do. They're trying, like Saturday Night Live did a whole show from home. I don't know if that's what it's going to be, but people are starting to experiment, and I think that will happen.
And so this whole thing was born out of me missing my friends and missing being social and missing like being able to go to a bar, go to a coffee shop. Yeah. And so I said, well, wait a minute, there's technology out there. And one of the things I said I would do during this quarantine is I'm like, I want to reach out to my friends more. Cause like you and I talk like once every year and a half.
Something like that.
Is that about
Seriously, I connected with you on the astral plane every night, if you haven't noticed. But yes.
Oh, you know what? Was that you? I couldn't tell. But so but we always have like really, you know what? I talked to you in October when I'm driving to a gig and like we could like catch up. Yeah. And it's always cool to like, we talk about performing a lot. We talk about like the mechanics of it. And I've always really appreciate that. And I was like, well, I love it. What's Brody up to? And so that's what this was about. And I'm talking to other friends, and it's just nice to like connect. Yeah. And
I've been going to online 12-step meetings on Zoom and stuff like that. There are open mics online. It's a work in progress. They're getting it, but it's not the same as coming out and hugging somebody, but it's better than just being isolated.
Yeah. It's something, and we got to take what we can get, I think, at this point, and make it work. And yesterday, Easter Sunday, we had a Zoom meeting where I had my in-laws in Pittsburgh, my parents in Connecticut, my sister in a different house in Connecticut, and we had it up at the dinner table. We all agreed we'll do this at 5:00, and it was something. It was, and my parent. It made me feel good. Like my parents aren't all alone having Easter dinner.
The funny thing is, so I did it was me and my wife Zan, and then my sister Lisa and my parents. And my sister, it works at an ad agency, and luckily she's still working. A lot of people lost their jobs. She's still working, but she does all these all the time. It's just nothing but conference calls all the time. So like 5 minutes in, she's like, "Are we done? I've talked on the computer all day."
Yeah, and I thought too. My favorite part was just like, this was my favorite family holiday dinner ever because it's the very first time I could mute people. I could just go,
nice,
like, oh, shut up! I don't want to hear it. No, so we make do, and that's what all of us are going to do. We're all going to just make do and try to figure this out. But yeah, I don't know either. This Saturday night, and I'll announce this formally soon. I'm doing my first like ghost show at a library via Zoom.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that's going to go.
I'm doing my first. I'm doing a Wednesday show at 8 a.m. for a Rotary Club in Minnesota, and I said that because I have an agent, like for like corporate gigs and stuff. And I said, it's polite to be like, hey, do you need a cut of this, or what do you want me to do? Because I don't know with Zoom meetings. And he's like, no, you're fine, just take it. And it pays like, I'm not gonna tell you how much it pays. It doesn't pay as much as what it normally would, but it pays like right now. I'm like, oh, sweet. Like it's like a fraction, but I'm like, it's a fraction. And I don't know, like I this might be horrible or it might be great. I don't know. And the agent was like, wow, you're like the only person I've heard of that actually got one of these things. So I feel really grateful. Yeah. But a Rotary Club, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know. Like, it's like there's a delay. Like I'll say something and then people will laugh and it like throw me off and they can't hear it. Like I don't know.
Yeah. But we're gonna try. So that I thrive in front of, like you. I thrive in front of a live audience, and I like work in the room, and I can switch gears if it's not working.
Exactly.
And I need to see your face. I need to see your body language, right? I need to see you lean forward when I'm telling a story.
Yeah.
So I guess, and I'm trying it because I've had other libraries, and like you, it's a fraction of what we normally get. But I'm grateful to have the work. I'm grateful to share stories. So Saturday night.
Are you worried that? Oh, sorry. But before you, are you worried that when you get back to public speaking, that you're going to be rusty and like you'll lose a step because it's been a year and a half?
No, please don't say that, because I've got my whole fall is still booked. I've had everything in the spring cancel, and I'm still praying that by the fall we can get out there, but who knows?
Maybe.
No, I have a funny feeling that first show is going to be freaking magic, because I'm going to be like, I've missed you. Like reuniting with like an old friend that you're just going to hug and embrace and be like, I'm going to go for 4 hours tonight, man. I to say, like, I need this. I need the energy of the room, you know? I will reach every one of you. That's what I'm saying right now. Ask me again in like 3-4 months. Maybe I'll just be so despondent. But so I'm curious Saturday night, because I've had other libraries ask, and I'm like, let me try this thing Saturday and see how it goes. I know I have to like bring that energy to this little camera here and hope to God it translates. On the one hand, maybe I had thoughts that, okay, and you can have this too, right? Maybe it'll be better, because you know when you have like an audience and they're just like,
yeah.
Right? I don't see that. I'm like, I bet they're all at the edge of their seats. In my head,
don't you do one where you can see a bunch of the different audience members?
I don't know. I haven't done it yet.
Oh, okay. Well, it's hard because on Zoom it usually goes to speaker view, like it pops your head up. Yeah. I did an open mic, and then there was like people would do laughy faces or like laughy cry faces.
Yeah.
It's hard to see in real time, so I would go back and look and be like, oh, like I killed, like, but I wouldn't know until
later tomorrow.
Later.
Right.
And then I guess if you're bored, you can just log off. Who's going to stop you? You know,
right? Be like, you guys this isn't working. I'm gone. Goodbye.
And you know, maybe they will have fall. Maybe it goes in phases. Maybe they go, okay, for 2 months we can do this, and then okay, we're quarantining again. I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
I'm fine.
You okay? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. So these masks, a friend of ours makes these, and they're great. But as a 6'5" person, the world was built by people 5'8" and shorter. Nobody thinks that, hey, maybe this doesn't fit my ears. Like I can't. Like
that's a good look.
Yeah, this is good. Like I look like a orc, but so I'm just gonna die because nobody thought that my ears. I guess I have a giant head apparently, but it's proportional.
Yeah, I think it is. You don't look odd at all. So anyway, I appreciate you talking to me today, Mike, and it was good swearing with you.
Yeah. And you can call me more than once a year, Jeff.
You can too. The phone works both ways. It's funny that way, isn't it? It's amazing.
We have time now. I actually made it, but I know you're wrapping up. But I actually have a list of people like to call. I never did that before. I'm not even.
Where am I on the list?
I forgot to add you to the
list.
This was like my sponsor, my parents, and like my cousin. But I'm gonna branch it out. Like, there was like immediate family. But I was like, I didn't want to bore them, so I'm starting to add on. And you will be. I'll tell you what, Jeff. I will show you the list. You will be the first one that's not immediate family.
Wow. Oh, I'm very flattered. But we also just kind of caught up right now. So if you want to, I get it. Like, it's cool.
I'm calling you right after this. I'm calling you at 1:01.
I gotta go, Mike. Like, I got stuff to do, man. But anyway, no, it was fun. It was fun to talk about this with you, and it was fun to talk about swearing. I'm sorry if we offended anyone. Didn't mean to. That wasn't the intent. But check out drybarcomedy.com/mbrody, because Mike will make a few bucks if you just download the app, and then you can watch his comedy. And you saw a little bit of it on YouTube. You can see some more on his website, or watch the whole thing. I mean, we need a laugh right now. And so we're counting on comedians to kind of figure this out, because we're going to, people have literally finished Netflix, and I mean all of it,
Yeah.
And they're like, give me something, please.
Right. They reached the end of the internet.
Yeah. And so, so these things, whatever kind of content, innovative things people can do, is so sorely needed. So figure it out. We all have to. That's what all of us are doing right now. But thank
you for having me. Thank you for all the people that commented. I just clicked on live comments, and now I see all your comments. Yes, my snout. I have a big snout.
Yeah, but it's adorable. Hey, also, if you want to help out, appreciate it. Tips are accepted. If you want to tip, there's my Venmo, and I appreciate everybody that's been doing that. Obviously, if it's going to put you in a hardship, don't do it. But if you want to help out, I'm happy to take it. I'm doing so many more of these tomorrow night at 7:00 Eastern. John E.L. Tenney is going to be talking about weird stories. You know John, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. And then Wednesday at 1:30 in the afternoon, I'm getting a guitar lesson from John Judd. John Judd does the music for New England Legends, and he's a composer and a musician. He's been my childhood friend. He's a person I've literally known for 35 years. Yikes, huh? So that's what's coming up. And then there'll be more and more coming. I just want to talk to everybody. If this thing keeps going, whoever's watching right now, eventually we'll get to you. So thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
You guys stay well, stay healthy, and take it easy.
See ya, fucker.